Imagine discovering the secret ingredient inside your favorite beauty product was poison. Not a controversial chemical, not a questionable preservative, actual poison. The kind once used to kill rats. The kind that became one of history's most feared murder weapons. Now, imagine consuming it willingly, day after day, year after year, all in pursuit of beauty. Today, the global beauty industry generates hundreds of billions of dollars every year. Consumers carefully examine ingredient labels, experts debate safety standards, brands compete to market products as clean, natural, and scientifically advanced. Modern society is deeply concerned with what we put on our skin. But just over a century ago, many people were concerned with something far more dangerous, what they put inside their bodies. By the late 19th century, advertisements began appearing throughout Europe and North America, promising extraordinary transformations. They promised flawless skin. They promised brighter eyes. They promised freedom from freckles, blemishes, and imperfections. Most remarkably, they promised beauty itself. The secret ingredient behind many of these products was arsenic. To modern audiences, the idea sounds impossible. Why would anyone knowingly consume poison? Why would businesses sell it? Why would newspapers advertise it? Why would consumers trust it? The answer reveals something far deeper than a simple mistake. This story is not really about arsenic. It is about beauty. And throughout history, beauty has often demanded sacrifice. Again and again, societies have convinced people to endure discomfort, pain, and even danger in pursuit of an ideal appearance. Sometimes those sacrifices were visible. Sometimes they were hidden. Sometimes they were deadly. Yet generation after generation accepted the risks. Not because they lacked intelligence, but because beauty standards possess extraordinary power. They can make dangerous practices seem normal. To understand how arsenic became a beauty treatment, we must first travel back to the 19th century, a world transformed by industry, a world obsessed with social status, a world where appearance communicated far more than attractiveness. In Victorian society, skin functioned as a social signal. It revealed where a person belonged. It suggested how they lived. It hinted at their wealth, their occupation, and their place within society. And above all else, one particular appearance became highly desirable: pale skin. Not healthy pale, not natural pale, but almost ghostly pale. For the wealthy, pale skin signaled privilege. It suggested a life spent indoors, protected from physical labor and harsh sunlight. A pale complexion became evidence of status. Meanwhile, those who worked outdoors developed darker complexions through constant exposure to the sun. Farm workers, laborers, market vendors, factory workers, their skin reflected their daily reality. As a result, pale skin gradually became associated with wealth, refinement, and social prestige. The pressure to achieve this appearance grew stronger with every decade. Women searched for creams, powders, lotions, home remedies, anything that might lighten their complexion. But eventually, many sought stronger solutions, faster solutions, more dramatic solutions. And waiting in the shadows was a substance that seemed almost miraculous, a substance capable of transforming appearance from the inside out, a substance that promised beauty, but quietly delivered poison. And the most disturbing part, many of the people using it knew exactly what it was: arsenic. Long before arsenic wafers appeared on pharmacy shelves, pale skin had already become one of humanity's oldest status symbols. For thousands of years, across multiple civilizations, complexion communicated something important: not beauty alone, power. In ancient Greece, pale skin suggested that a person possessed wealth sufficient to avoid manual labor. In ancient Rome, elite women used powders and cosmetics to lighten their appearance. Across imperial China, fair skin became associated with nobility and refinement. In Japan, members of the aristocracy often emphasized pale complexions as a marker of social distinction. Despite vast differences in culture and geography, the message remained remarkably similar. The less time a person spent working beneath the sun, the higher their social standing appeared. For centuries, skin functioned as a visual language. Without speaking a word, it revealed where someone belonged within society. By the 19th century, this idea became even more powerful. The Industrial Revolution transformed entire nations. Factories expanded rapidly, cities grew larger, millions of people left rural communities and entered a new world of industrial labor. For many workers, life became increasingly visible. They worked outdoors, they transported goods, they built roads, they loaded ships, they spent long hours exposed to weather, dirt, and sunlight. Their appearance reflected their occupation. Meanwhile, the wealthy occupied a very different world. Their days unfolded inside private homes, drawing rooms, libraries, and estates. Servants handled physical labor. Comfort became a symbol of status, and pale skin became proof of that comfort. The contrast was impossible to ignore. A tan suggested work. A pale complexion suggested privilege. What had once been a preference gradually evolved into an expectation. For women in particular, appearance became closely tied to social reputation. Magazines discussed beauty, fashion guides discussed beauty, etiquette books discussed beauty. Everywhere women looked, society seemed to deliver the same message. Refinement could be seen on the face. As the pressure intensified, countless women began searching for ways to improve their complexion. Freckles became a source of anxiety. Sunspots became unwanted imperfections. Any sign of outdoor exposure threatened the image many hoped to project. Some women wore wide-brimmed hats, others carried parasols. Many avoided direct sunlight whenever possible. An entire beauty culture emerged around this obsession. Yet another influence would soon push this obsession even further, and it emerged from one of the deadliest diseases of the 19th century, tuberculosis, known at the time as consumption. Today, tuberculosis is recognized as a serious infectious disease, but during the 19th century, it occupied a strange place within popular culture. The illness affected millions. It appeared in novels, poetry, paintings, theater. Its victims often experienced dramatic weight loss, pale skin, and bright, feverish eyes. To modern audiences, these symptoms represent tragedy, but some 19th century artists and writers interpreted them differently. They associated these features with delicacy, sensitivity, romantic suffering. As a result, certain aspects of the disease became entangled with contemporary beauty ideals. Not because people wanted the disease itself, but because cultural images often celebrated the appearance associated with fragility and refinement. The effect was subtle but powerful. Society increasingly admired women who appeared delicate, graceful, almost ethereal, and naturally, very few people possessed such features without assistance. Beauty standards were moving further and further away from reality. The demand for solutions continued to grow. Women wanted brighter skin, lighter skin, clearer skin, more perfect skin. Entrepreneurs recognized an opportunity. Chemists recognized an opportunity. Manufacturers recognized an opportunity. And soon an industry would emerge promising to deliver beauty through science, or at least what people believed science could deliver. The solution they offered would become one of the most controversial beauty products of the Victorian age: arsenic. By the late 19th century, the world was changing at extraordinary speed. Industrialization had transformed manufacturing. Railways connected cities. Mass printing connected consumers. And for the first time in history, beauty products could be marketed to millions of people simultaneously. This was the age of advertising, an age when newspapers reached enormous audiences, an age when companies discovered the power of persuasion, and few industries embraced this new opportunity more enthusiastically than the beauty industry. The demand already existed. Women wanted lighter skin, clearer complexions, fewer blemishes, more youthful appearances. Manufacturers simply needed to provide a solution, or at least the appearance of one. Throughout Europe and North America, countless products appeared claiming to transform the face. Creams, powders, lotions, soaps, elixirs, beauty tablets. Many promised results that would be impossible even by modern standards. Advertisements spoke the language of miracles: a clearer complexion, brighter eyes, perfect skin, permanent beauty. And among these products, one category generated particular fascination: arsenic complexion treatments. Today, the idea sounds shocking, but to many consumers of the 19th century, arsenic was not viewed exclusively as a poison. In small amounts, arsenic compounds had been historically used in certain medicines. Doctors prescribed arsenic-containing treatments for various conditions, though their effectiveness was often questionable. As a result, the public's perception of arsenic was more complicated than ours is today. It was feared, but it was also familiar, and familiarity often reduces caution. This ambiguity created an opportunity for manufacturers. If arsenic already appeared in some medicines, why not market it as a beauty aid? Why not claim it improved the complexion? Why not promise transformation? And so, companies began promoting arsenic-based beauty products with remarkable confidence. Advertisements assured consumers that these products were safe, gentle, scientifically formulated. Some even claimed they had been approved by experts. Many advertisements targeted insecurities directly. Do freckles trouble you? Do blemishes affect your confidence? Has your complexion lost its youthful appearance? The solution they promised was finally available. The language feels surprisingly modern. Even today, beauty marketing often begins by identifying a flaw and then offering a product as the cure. The technology changes. The psychology rarely does. Victorian consumers were exposed to these messages constantly. Newspapers repeated them. Magazines repeated them. Store displays repeated them. Friends discussed them. Word of mouth amplified them. Gradually, the products became normalized. The extraordinary became ordinary, and that is often how dangerous trends spread, not through force, but through familiarity. A woman might first encounter an advertisement during breakfast. Later, she might hear another woman mention the same product. Then she might notice it displayed in a pharmacy window. Eventually, curiosity could become trust. Trust could become a purchase, and a purchase could become a habit. The growing popularity of arsenic beauty products reflected a much larger phenomenon: the rise of the patent medicine industry. During this period, regulation remained limited. Manufacturers often faced few restrictions regarding the claims they could make. Scientific testing standards were inconsistent. Ingredient disclosure was frequently incomplete. Consumers often relied on reputation, advertising, and personal recommendations. In many ways, they were navigating a marketplace filled with uncertainty. Some products were harmless. Some products were ineffective. Some products were genuinely dangerous. Distinguishing between them was not always easy, yet the promise of beauty remained powerful, and powerful promises can overshadow caution. For many consumers, the potential reward appeared worth the risk. If a product could truly create the pale complexion society admired, then perhaps the gamble seemed reasonable. After all, the advertisements rarely discussed danger. They discussed results. They discussed beauty. They discussed transformation. And transformation sells. By the 1880s and 1890s, Arsenic beauty products had become a part of a broader culture obsessed with appearance, self-improvement, and social advancement. To many women, these products represented hope of fitting an ideal, hope of improving social prospects, hope of becoming the version of themselves that society seemed to reward. But beneath the promises, something far more complicated was happening. Because arsenic was not a magical beauty ingredient, it was a toxic substance interacting with the human body in ways that few consumers truly understood. And the science behind its effects was far darker than the advertisements suggested. In the next chapter, we examine what arsenic actually did inside the human body and why some women believed the poison was working. For a few weeks, or perhaps a few months, the illusion held. A Victorian woman looking into her mirror would see exactly what society demanded. Her skin grew unnaturally pale, her cheeks flushed with a delicate, ghostly pink. To the untrained eye, the arsenic was working its miracle. But underneath the porcelain surface, a living nightmare was quietly waking up. Arsenic does not leave the body easily. It accumulates. Day after day, wafer after wafer, the poisons settle deep into the bones, the liver, and the skin tissues. And soon, the very substance bought to create beauty began to systematically destroy it. The first signs were subtle, a lingering metallic taste on the tongue, a strange, inexplicable weakness in the limbs. Then the skin turned on its owner. The coveted white complexion began to break out in severe, painful rashes, dark, patch-like pigmentation resembling raindrops of dirt scattered across the neck and chest. The arsenic was blocking the body's natural cellular processes, causing the skin to produce hyperpigmentation in a desperate bid to protect itself. But it grew worse. The skin on the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet began to harden and crack, developing thick, agonizing lesions known as arsenical keratosis. The very hands that once held elegant lace fans were now covered in painful, weeping sores. The eyes, once promised to spark with brilliant luster, became perpetually bloodshot, watery, and swollen with severe conjunctivitis. The transformation was absolute, but it was not the one promised on the back of the medicine bottle. The pursuit of perfection had cross-contaminated into a slow. By the turn of the 20th century, the medical community could no longer ignore the bodies piling up in the morgues. Lancet journals and medical archives from the late 1800s began filling with horrifying case studies. Doctors were treating patients who exhibited all the classic signs of acute arsenic poisoning. But these weren't victims of malicious murder. They were victims of vanity. The public illusion was fracturing. One by one, high-profile court cases exposed the dark reality of the cosmetics industry. When wealthy women suddenly collapsed and died of organ failure, forensic scientists began testing their hair and fingernails. The results were undeniable: lethal levels of arsenic. The press, which had once grown rich off advertising these toxic elixirs, suddenly turned. High society scandals exposed how manufacturers knowingly mixed heavy toxins into basic lifestyle goods. Public panic set in. The miracle wafers were unmasked as slow-acting poison. The complexion soaps were revealed to be chemical hazards. The Victorian era was forced to look into the mirror and confront a terrifying truth. An entire generation had willingly funded their own destruction, buying their executioners in small, beautifully wrapped glass bottles. We will never truly know how many lives were cut short by the arsenic craze, because 19th century medicine was still evolving. Countless deaths were misdiagnosed as consumption, tuberculosis, or general heart failure. The true toll remains buried in forgotten family cemeteries across Europe and North America. But the physical death toll tells only half the story. The psychological toll was arguably heavier. Imagine the quiet desperation of a young woman in 1890. She is told her entire worth, her chance at marriage, financial stability, and social survival rests on her physical appearance. She sees her skin beginning to fail under the poison, yet she feels she cannot stop. To stop taking the arsenic meant losing her pale complexion. It meant letting the blemishes return. And so, trapped in a vicious cycle of addiction and societal pressure, many chose to keep consuming the very substance that was killing them. They chose a beautiful death over social exile. It was a tragedy born not out of ignorance, but out of a profound systemic desperation. It is easy for us, sitting in the 21st century, to look back at the Victorians with a sense of superiority. We laugh at their ignorance. We wonder how they could be so foolish, so easily manipulated by clever marketing and dangerous trends. But look closer. Today, we no longer eat arsenic wafers. Instead, we inject botulinum toxin directly into our facial muscles to freeze time. We undergo invasive surgeries, taking massive medical risks to alter our bone structures and body shapes. We spend billions on creams containing chemicals we can barely pronounce, all while chasing an algorithmic, heavily edited digital filter on a glass screen. The ingredients have changed, the technology has advanced, but the human condition, it remains exactly the same. The multi-billion-dollar modern beauty industry still thrives on the exact same emotion that drove the sales of Dr. Campbell's arsenic wafers over a century ago: insecurity. We are still running on that same exhausting treadmill, desperately chasing an unachievable, ever-shifting standard of perfection. We are still looking into our mirrors, hoping to see something that society deems acceptable. The story of Victorian beauty poison is not just a bizarre chapter from history. It is a mirror, and it forces us to ask ourselves a deeply uncomfortable, haunting question. How much poison are we still swallowing today just to feel like we are enough?